A hobbled Heisman Trophy candidate is the story of the day for this Michigan football program. Not a lot of people talking about this, but got good word late into the evening on Tuesday that Blake Corum, you saw him take a bunch of hits. You saw James McCarthy take a bunch of hits too on Saturday against Rutgers, but there was some talk Sunday, the return trip on Saturday night, Sunday into Monday, that, hey, maybe they would sit him out for a game, right, against Nebraska, get him healthy for Ohio State. That is not a firm decision as of yet, but we've been told that Blake Corum has multiple minor nagging injuries, not as severe as his high ankle sprain ones last year that kept him out of a couple games, but his status on Saturday against Nebraska is not certain. I want to be very clear to you guys here. I am not saying Blake Corum is going to sit out the game. I'm not saying he's not going to play on Saturday. I'm telling you that if Michigan wasn't 9-0 and he wasn't in the middle of a Heisman Trophy campaign, his injuries are more severe than they set out guys this past week against Rutgers or have in past weeks. Roman Wilson's missed a couple games. Blake Corum is dinged up in multiple spots a little more than guys who have sat out games in the past. So the plan is to play him as of this point, but they don't want to risk further injury and have him miss the Ohio State game or have him be only 80% against Ohio State. So I will keep you up to date on this story throughout the day as get this information on Tuesday night. We'll have all kinds of time to talk with you about it on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, even into the morning on Saturday. Anything we can get, we will give it to you. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports, always bringing you the injury news you need to know before any of the blog boys. We are going to dive into Michigan versus Nebraska, all coming up on the show right now. I'm going to talk about the major keys to a W. I think Michigan should absolutely wipe the floor with Nebraska, but I think there's been times over the years with Jim Harbaugh where you expect a 56-10 victory and you get a 27-14 victory, or a game like Maryland this year. So there's a few things that you want to keep an eye on, a few players on the offensive side I'll focus on here for Nebraska, and just talk about what Michigan needs to do to have this game be a catalyst to jump forward and make this a team that can beat Ohio State in less than 3 weeks. If you guys, folks, would like to beat Nebraska, I know I've asked you guys this before against plenty of times throughout this season and into last season. If you'd like to beat Nebraska, just say if you'd like to beat them by 40, go ahead and like this video. Don't jinx it, because I feel like this thing has worked, right? You don't jinx it. Everybody does it. We're all on the same page. We get a bunch of likes. More Michigan football fans see the video, and the support goes towards this team. They feel the love. They get the victory. Don't jinx it. Hit that like button here on YouTube. Take a look at the matchup between these teams. Michigan was number 5, but now they're number 3. We'll get that changed. It's not a big deal, Jack. We'll get that changed at some point. But Nebraska right now is 3-6. Their scoring offense right now is number 86 in college football, number 91 defense. They're giving up 29.5 points a game. Michigan 9-0, number 5 scoring team in college football on offense, number 3 scoring team, least amount of points given up on defense, only giving up 12 per game. And if you think about this, guys, the first string Michigan defense, if you take away pick sixes or block punts or scores in the fourth quarter in those first 3 games, I think the stat I saw was Michigan's only giving up like 7.7 points a game if you take out the late scores in the first 3 games against the fourth string defense or special teams or off defensive touchdowns that the first team wasn't on the field there. The game is 3:30. It's on ABC. Michigan is a 29.5 point favorite. If you're going to the game, enjoy it. The second to last home game of 8 home games this year for this Michigan football team. The player I am watching for is Trey Palmer. He is 3rd in the Big Ten, I think 11th in the country, already with 819 receiving yards. He's got 53 catches, which actually isn't a crazy number. So he's on pace for like 70, 75, but 3rd in the Big Ten right now in receiving yards. He is their best playmaker, and you might make the argument that in some games this year, he's been their only playmaker. So keep an eye out for Trey Palmer, 3rd in the Big Ten. He is my guy to key on. If Nebraska's going to make this a game, it's going to be by going deep to Trey Palmer, getting Trey Palmer underneath, let him use his speed, and up the sideline, etc. So that is the guy I think that if Nebraska's going to make this a game, it's going to be because of Trey Palmer. All right, this was talked about 3 years ago, and I've heard whispers of it, right? And so I tossed it in as this part of the video, and you guys will get why I'm asking this here in a second. But there was talk in 2019, before the pandemic, before the whole world changed in a lot of ways, that Michigan would play an overseas game. that talk is renewed a little bit. I don't think it's imminent, but I do think Michigan is considering it for like the 2026, 2027, 2028 years where there might be games as the Big Ten switches up their schedule with 2 new teams coming up in 2024, USC and UCLA. What country should Michigan play an overseas game in? I want to know what you guys think. A lot of options there. People have said Dubai. I guess that's not, is that a country? United Arab Emirates, Japan, maybe a game in Tokyo, maybe a game in London. How about a game in Scotland? And if we got a game, we could go visit our Established Titles plot. This show is sponsored by Established Titles. Established Titles is an awesome company, folks. They are a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number and a private estate in Edelston, Scotland. Maybe Michigan should play there. And an official certificate with a crest. They plant a tree with every order, and they work with global charities such as One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. You could officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card. Lord James Yoder, your plane ticket. Lord James Yoder, or Lord Jack Lauderay on your dating profile, Jack. That could, I don't know, it could be doing some good things for you. A great last-minute gift. If you've got anyone who likes, Scotland, English, anything like that, this makes a great gift. We've had a ton of people buy them. The first 200 people who buy a title pack using my link, establishshows.com/chatsports, will effectively have a plot within walking distance of mine, depending on how many you become a lord or a lady. We can build a Michigan Football Report kingdom over there in Edelston, Scotland. It makes a great last-minute gift this holiday season. You get this certificate, you get a plot of land in Scotland, and you can officially be a Scottish landowner or a lord or a lady. They're running an amazing Black Friday sale right now, up to 80% off. Plus, use that link, establishedtitles.com/chat. It's down in the description. It's down in the comments of today's video. You'll get an additional 10% off. A great last-minute gift this holiday season. Kind of think about it as if you buy like a star. You name a star for somebody. You buy a plot of land in the rainforest, or you sponsor a tree or something like that. Same kind of concept, but you also get this amazing, really well done certificate framed sent to you. This is their frame they sent to me. It comes in the mail. It's awesome. I've got it up on the wall in my office. establishshows.com/chat. Take an extra 10% off. Black Friday sale going on right now. Don't miss it. Can get up to another 80% off. establishshows.com. Link in the comments and the description of the video. Take a look at Nebraska's offense, all right? They stink, right? They are a bad offense in a lot of ways. And the bad is getting a little worse as we talk about some injuries they're dealing with here coming up in a second. But this is the number 73 offense in the country at 387 yards per game. They're number 60 in passing, 243. They can't run the ball with crap, number 74, 143 yards per game. And they can barely score. They get up more points, of course, they're 3-6. Then they're scoring 25.6 points per game. How about this little stat? Alert. Oliver Martin. Remember Oliver Martin? He was in the same recruiting class, I'm sure most of you guys know this, as Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins and Tariq Black and Dylan McCaffrey. The 2017 number 5 overall ranked Michigan football recruiting class. Harbaugh's best class, but actually turned out to be his worst class because almost none of those guys panned out. A few of them did, but not really many of them. Oliver Martin, in his 6th year of college football, he played 2 years at Michigan, 1 year at Iowa, and that was his 3rd year at Nebraska. As far as we could tell, we put the stats and research team on it for the last 48 hours. Oliver Martin is the only player in college football history to catch a pass from 3 schools in the same conference in college football history. So we have a fun little stat. I thought he'd have a nice career at Michigan, but never really turned out to be athletic enough to see the field more than a couple snaps in garbage time in his 2 seasons at Michigan in 2017 and 2018. That's a little stat, but he gets some playing time for Nebraska, so keep an eye out for him on Saturday. Who are the real 97 national champions? If it was Nebraska, go ahead and type an N down in the comments or the live chat. That means you're a cop. That means you're infiltrating, because no one believes that. Nebraska lost a game that year. They got bailed out by the refs on that kick from Missouri. It was like the guy caught the ball, was on the ground, he kicked it up in the air, which should have been a dead ball. They didn't call it. So it shouldn't even have been a deal, but I think if Michigan played Nebraska that year, they would have beat them 27-10 or something like that. I didn't think Scott Frost. They fired him in Nebraska. I don't think he would have been a good enough player or coach to beat Michigan. type M for Michigan, N for Nebraska. Let's light these comments up with some M's. 1987 national champs. Nebraska could be looking pretty on a Saturday. 2020 four-star quarterback Chubba Purdy. It's Brock Purdy's brother, the former, right? Iowa State quarterback. I think he's on to the NFL. Yeah, he is. I think he's on a roster now. 49ers. That's right. Yeah, San Francisco 49ers. He making the start again against Michigan, right? He was a top 200 player in the 24/7 Sports Composite in the 2020 class. Went to Florida State. Get some playing time there, right? He wasn't just sitting the bench, but he transferred to Nebraska. They had a couple of transfer quarterbacks this year. He got the start this past week against Minnesota, but he got pulled out, right, here and there. He was not, a sure thing by any means. Another quarterback they've got, Logan Smothers. They were alternating drives in the second half. You can see why. 6 of 16 for 41 yards for Chubby Purdy. No touchdowns. He threw an interception. That's his passing stats in his first start. The guy who was replacing, Casey Thompson, had an injury. I've read it's a nerve injury, but to be honest, I haven't really paid attention to Nebraska because they're 3-6 and have got all that. But Casey Thompson missed the game last week. They said it was a nerve injury. So there's some talk that Chubba Purdy will get his second start versus Michigan. I doubt we find out until Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday. I'm not sure when they'll make the official announcement. But even if Casey Thompson gets the start, he hasn't been that good so far this year after being the starting quarterback for Texas last year. Transfer when Quinn Ewers went in there. 12 picks, 10 interceptions. So either way, they certainly have a better shot if Casey Thompson is playing. If not, Chubba Purdy went 6 of 16. He may be the starter for his second time against Michigan this Saturday. Knowing what they have at quarterback, Casey Thompson may be missing the game, and even if he does play, he'll likely be a tad injured, not 100%. How many passing yards will Nebraska have versus Michigan on Saturday? We know they've got a great wide receiver in Trey Palmer, so you can't discount their passing game that they're going to do nothing, and likely they'll be down the entire game, so they're going to have to pass more than run to catch up to Michigan. So anyone saying like 100, 110, you're kind of crazy. I'm going to say 220 is the number they're going to have, right? Even if it's Chubba Purdy, I think he's going to throw so many times in the second half that he'll get a few, right? They'll convert on some passes. I'm going to say 210 is the number. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, how many passing yards Nebraska will have versus Michigan. If you've been watching our entire live show, you may have seen some of these stats here, some of these takeaways. But Michigan's needs, what I want to see from them this game against Nebraska, next week against Illinois, going to the Ohio State game, you got to have it or you're not going to win in Columbus. And hell, if you get that win, which I think Michigan will against Ohio State, you're going to need this in the Big Ten championship game and certainly in the college football playoff where Michigan, frankly, was not competitive with Nebraska last season. Number one, wide receivers need to step up. They have not done it so far this year. Ronnie Bell looked like he was having a kind of a resurgent comeback year after injury, but a lot of drops in these guys. Cornelius Johnson hasn't impressed me. The tight ends, Luke Schoonmaker, he's had a nice year, but he had some drops last week. Ronnie Bell, Roman Wilson's missed 2 games out of the last 4 or 5 with injury. And now Michigan's playing Omarion Walker and other freshmen right now. Angela Anthony hasn't done anything, right? So this wide receiver group is massively underperforming, and I think it's getting worse by the game. Number 2, the staple of this Michigan football offense is their ability to maul people on the offensive line. So some people have some good points. My guy, Eastside Zach, said, you can't maul people when they've got 8, 9 guys stuffed in the box and you know you're going to run it inside the 5, inside the 10 like Michigan does at a higher rate under Jim Harbaugh the last 2 seasons than any team in college football. They run in the red zone. But nevertheless, this offensive line has done a good job this year, but I do think they're going to need to absolutely blow people off the ball inside the 10, inside the 15, because I don't think Michigan's got the passing game or, number 3, the confidence from their quarterback to develop a passing game in the red zone this late in the season. If Michigan's going to beat Ohio State, it's either going to be on long passes, bombs from McCarthy 40 yards out or more, or a running catch where a guy takes it a long way, or it's going to be multiple runs or a 10 or 15-yard run inside the red zone from Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, J.J. McCarthy on his feet, or maybe A.J. Henning in one of those reverses like he got in last year's game to kick off the scoring. He scored the first touchdown, then Hassan Haskins the next 5 for Michigan. But I don't think J.J. McCarthy has confidence going down the field. I certainly don't think the team, the coaching staff, or McCarthy himself have any confidence in the Michigan football passing game once you get inside the 20-yard line. Take a look at what Nebraska's done the last 5 years. They're 3-6 right now. Kind of looking left of your screen, going right. The last 5 years, 2021, 3-9. Wow, that was year 4 under Scott Frost. 2020, in the COVID-shortened season, they went 3-5. 2019, 5-7. 2018, 4-8. I think that's the year Michigan dropped like 50-some on them in Scott Frost's third or fourth game as Nebraska's head coach. Mike Riley was the head coach in 2017. They went 4-8. So, if anything, I think you could say Mike Riley was a pretty bad hire, pretty bad coach coming over from Oregon State to Nebraska. He only lasted 3 years there. The golden child, the I'm coming home king, Scott Frost, is going to be Nebraska's Jim Harbaugh. He made the program worse, right? And he was fired after 3 or 4 games this year. They're on pace to go 3-9 for the second straight season. Can you imagine this, folks? Nebraska going 3-9 for 3 straight years, 3-5 the year before that, 9 wins over a course of 3 seasons. That's something I never would have thought, thinking back when I was growing up in the mid-90s, early 90s, early 2000s, where Nebraska was basically winning national titles or up in the top 1, 2, 3 teams in the country every single poll. We're approaching 23,000 subscribers, 22,825. Subscribe to the channel. Most of the people who watch live, I'm guessing, are existing subscribers. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Really appreciate it. I'm Miller. I'm not going to Columbus, but I will be doing a post-game show, maybe a live show. We said we were up in double digits in the second half. Michigan, we're going to do live show, Jack. But make sure you subscribe. We'll have a video every single day from now through the end of the season. And then we go in the offseason about 3 shows per week. 22,825. We had 175 more to hit 23,000 before kickoff on Saturday. Take a look at this Nebraska team so far this year. They started off the game overseas, right? Maybe, I think it was in Scotland. Maybe they were doing the Established Titles Bowl over there against Northwestern in week 0. They lost that one. They lost to they beat North Dakota, then lost to Georgia Southern, coached by Clay Helton. Lost to Oklahoma. They beat Indiana. Okay, cool. They beat Rutgers. Okay, cool. And then they've lost 3 straight games. Purdue, Illinois, and then last week against Minnesota. This is a 3-6 team, 2-4 record. So it makes me ponder. I kind of alluded to there a second. Is Nebraska still a top 15 program? Clearly not ranked top 15. Clearly they haven't been ranked top 15 in a long, long time. But just 5 years ago, they got the prize, all right, of college football coming out of the 2017 season. There were 2 coaches that every school wanted, okay? One was Scott Frost, had just left UCF to an undefeated season in 2017. The other one was Chip Kelly. They both kind of spurned Florida, the Florida Gators, who both wanted them, wanted both those guys. Chip Kelly took the UCLA job. He's kind of had up or down, but he's kind of on the upswing there at UCLA. And Nebraska has already fired Scott Frost midway through his 5th season. So is Nebraska still a top 15 college football program? I say yes. You might be surprised by that. I do say yes because they've got 3 national titles in the last 30 years. Almost no schools outside of Alabama, LSU, and who else can say that in the last 30 years they have 3 national titles? Even Ohio State just has the 2. And those were all, 94, 95, 97. So that's that. And they sell every single game. There's only 4 or 5 or 6 programs in all of college football, most of them in the Big Ten, that do 85,000 plus every single game. It's Michigan, it's Ohio State, it's Penn State, it's Nebraska, Notre Dame, and then, Alabama, but not every game. And I think that's why Nebraska is still, to me, a top 15 program, top 15 head coaching job. Let's give a shout out to Elon Musk. All right, Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, the CEO of Tesla, and now the owner of Twitter. Since he took over about 10 days ago, my engagement has gone through the roof. My week over week, funny enough, the 10 days prior to him owning Twitter, the 10 days since he's owned Twitter, my followers and my engagement, impressions on my tweet have nearly tripled. So thanks, Elon. He's unshadow banned me. I don't know if that was the case why all of a sudden things are exploding for my Twitter account. So I want to thank him for unshadow banning me if that's what happened. And I ask you guys to follow me. It's at James Yoder. If you're watching this live, I am going to follow back the first 5 people when I pull up my phone when we're done with the show. First 5 people who followed me in the live show, I'm hitting you with a follow back.